Hey everyone, so welcome to the live stream I'm doing. Please comment throughout the video. I'm going to be trying to do this as quickly as I can. Now, it's going to be a bit delayed, I'm afraid, because the way this works is I have to look back at my live stream on my actual YouTube channel as opposed to watching on the Google Hangout, which is how I film this. So when you comment a question, it might take a while for me to notice it, but I'm going to skim through and see all the questions and hopefully answer a few of them. So feel free to keep commenting throughout. I'm not sure how long this video is going to last, but we'll see. As you can see, I've been dancing today, which is why I decided to do this video. Please excuse my eyes as well because I blink a lot when I'm tired and I'm exhausted because I've been dancing for 5 hours. So yeah, I can see it's just started now on the live stream, so you can see how delayed this is going to be. So yeah, just feel free to comment and I will answer them. So the first comment I can see is, how do you tell your mum you would like to swap from disposables to cloth pads? I get asked this question a lot, and I have done 3 videos, I think, on how to do this. They really explain everything I can, well, at least my best suggestions, but to me, the thing to do is be honest. I know some people find it easier to ask their parents or their mum through email or through a text, saying, I've discovered something new, and well, actually probably through an email is better to list it down and say this. I know someone did that and they basically can state all the good points and the bad points to it. Another way is just to explain to them in person that you think using cloth pads is going to be better for you than using disposables, i.e. push the point forward you think it's going to be most important to them. For my parents, or for my dad particularly, I didn't really discuss it with him, but my mum told him I was using cloth pads, and so she pushed forward the point of environment because he's very environmentally conscious. So yeah, that was one thing that swayed him, the fact they don't go to the environment and they don't harm the environment. They're much better for the environment. So yeah. And what did I do with my mum? With my mum, I pushed forward the point they were more comfortable because I was very sick at the time that I switched. I was in bed a lot, and she would have really done anything to make me feel more comfortable. So she was happy for me to try it. Her philosophy has always been with me that it's my body and I get to choose what I want to do with it. That's not her choice or anything, but she will support me with that unless she feels it's going to be harmful. And I gave her a bit of advice, and well, not advice, sorry. I gave her a bit of information on it and a couple of videos, and so she learned from that it wasn't harmful. It's just something you can figure out if you like or not. It's not bad for you. It's not dangerous. So she figured she'd give it a go, and so she gave me £50 to spend on cloth pads, and that bought me a small starter kit that I was able to use to try out cloth my first period with cloth, and I got hooked instantly. It was so much better. I loved it, and that's how it started. And I also discovered a menstrual cup, and that's the other thing I did. What's your embarrassing period horror story? Good question. I don't really have one. I've never had a big incident with my period. I guess the biggest incident or horror story, I guess you could say, is that when I went camping, I first got my period. This is my first period. I got it when I was just literally walking out the door to go on a camping trip. And, yeah. What happened? Good. Brain fog. Sorry, I was walking out the door to go on a camping trip, and I went to the toilet because it's 4 hours away from me where we were going camping, and there it was, so I got a pad and everything. The first time I used a tampon, though, I used a light tampon, and it completely underestimated the fact that my period was going to be heavy the first time. So it soaked right through my pants. I didn't wear a pants on or anything. It soaked right through my underwear and through my trousers, and I had a bloody patch in the back of my trousers, but I could feel I was wet when I stood up, so I grabbed my jumper, zip-up hoodie, and tied it around my waist and went to the toilet and sorted myself out. I was pretty prepared, and yes, I said I used tampons in my first period because I preferred them to pads. I found pads horrible from the start, but yeah, that's what I did. So what's your opinion on abortion? This is a very controversial topic, and I will tread lightly here. First of all, I will say that my opinion is my opinion. It's not what I think. It's not like right or wrong. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, blah, 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 the diplomatic stuff. My personal opinion on it is that I think it should be allowed, but only in certain instances. For example, if the woman was raped, I think it should be allowed then. because I think there are a lot of things that you need to take into account with that. That's obviously a difficult situation, and the woman's already having to come to terms with what's happened to her. I don't know any one person who's been raped, so I can't really say a lot on the emotional impact for them, but I would imagine it would be horrific. The other reason I feel that abortion should be allowed in is if the child is very, very sick. Having been sick myself, I can honestly 100% say that if my parents had known I was going to get this, there is no way they could have known, by the way. I didn't start getting sick until I was 8 years old, and they could never have known. Emmy isn't, able to be determined in the womb. But if they had known I was going to be this sick, I would honestly hope that they would have had an abortion, because it is hell. It is just hell to go through being sick. And, you're in pain sometimes so much, you scream into your pillow in agony. It's just, I don't see how any parent could willingly put their child through that, knowing they're just going to be suffering constantly. Because pain medication doesn't always work, that's the thing. We have all these new technologies and stuff. But as of right now, it doesn't always work. But with an illness which the child, isn't going to suffer, maybe they're different. I don't think Down syndrome, I don't know a lot about it. Again, I don't know a lot about Down syndrome, but from my understanding, it's difficult. The child has issues mentally with social interaction and stuff, but that they're not in pain or anything. Then yeah, I don't think that should be necessary to have abortion. But if the child is definitely going to suffer and definitely going to be in pain, then yes, I would think that abortion should be allowed. The one other instance I can think of right now, with my head being all foggy from fatigue, is that if the mother is very sick. I know some people who have very severe scoliosis, and actually they would die long before they gave birth. Their spine would just snap. And in those instances as well, when neither the child or the mother has even a hope of surviving, I do think an abortion should be allowed, yes. But as I said before, very controversial topic. You're all entitled to your opinions. I'm not in any way saying that this is what you should think. That's just my opinion. Apart from those situations, I don't really think abortion should be allowed, because I think if you have sex, as I said before, you should willingly accept the fact that you could get pregnant even if you use contraception. I think it should just be a given, because that's what nature designed sex for. That's what it was for, to procreate. Obviously now we can protect ourselves and stuff, and contraception works most of the time, but there's always a failure rate, and you never know if you're going to be in that rate. So yeah, that's my opinion anyway. Can you only buy menstrual cups and cloth pads online? Nope, you can buy menstrual cups, the Moon Cup in the UK, in Boots. You can also buy the soft cups in Boots as well. Only the big Boots, so I've managed to find them. You can buy menstrual cups in the US, but I think it's only the Diva Cup. Yeah, and cloth pads. I believe there is 1 or 2 stores in the US that's got cloth pads, but usually you have to kind of do a bit of searching for them. But most of the time, online is by far the best place to get them. And I'm sorry for the poor microphone quality, guys. I understand that the mic on this isn't very good, but hopefully we can make it work. Okay. Can you just wear a menstrual cup on its own, or is it safe to wear a pad to protect leakage? I always wear a panty liner with a menstrual cup. Even if I know that cup isn't going to leak, I always wear one just in case. Personally, I can't notice them. Once you get a really good fitting panty liner, it won't even bother you. I always feel safe to have some backup, because 9 times out of 10 for me, I get a tiny bit of leakage, and the leakage is literally just a spot of blood. But I feel it's better to just have something there just in case. So, have you heard of the spoon theory for those who live with chronic illness? And if so, can you explain your interpretation? The spoon theory? Oh gosh. If I'm right in thinking the spoon theory is a way of explaining having ME, I actually have a pot of spoons. I took the wooden spoons and I painted them and I wrote energy on them. And the idea is, well, wooden spoons, when you're trying to explain to someone what it's like to have ME, you basically ask them to go through their day. And they say, get up, go down to breakfast, brush teeth, whatever. And as soon as they get up from bed, you give them a spoon. Say, right, that's one of your energies gone. Go and have breakfast, that's another energy, you've gone downstairs, it takes up energy, you want to brush your teeth, you've gone upstairs again. And usually before they've reached lunch, they've discovered all the spoons are gone. And that's how I explain, by that time, that's all my energy I have that I've used is for that day. And a lot of people ask, how you deal with it, and what you do is you keep one spoon hidden behind your back and you take it out and you say, well, I always make sure I keep an extra spoon just in case I need some more energy. But I think that's what you're asking. That's how I interpret it. I don't really have to explain it to anyone anymore because most people know what chronic fatigue syndrome is and how it affects you. But yeah, so let's have a look. Do you know a more eco-friendly option of cleaning your cloth pads in comparison to the OxiClean? Do you know anything about its impact on the fabric? I don't actually. The most eco-friendly way of cleaning your cloth pads is literally just to throw them into the washing machine with some towels or something. Don't worry about OxiClean or anything, just add some detergent in. They will get clean. They will stain, but they will be clean and they're perfectly usable. Most of the time, however, people want to keep their pads stain-free, so that's why they add in OxiClean and all that kind of stuff. But that's the most eco-friendly way to do it, and I know people who do that who don't worry about staining because you're just going to stain them again next month. Or another way to do it is, and I must do a video on this actually, it's on my list, is to buy really dark prints or really fussy dark prints so that it's very unlikely you'll notice a stain if you get one. That's a very good way to prevent staining. Do you recommend the Instead soft cups for first-time users? I personally cannot use the Instead soft cup. I find it the most uncomfortable thing ever, and I still haven't mastered it. So personally, I wouldn't, because if you want to use a proper menstrual cup, it really has no similarities at all in that aspect, apart from the fact that you will get to know your body a little bit better. Someone that I missed their question out. Sorry, please write it again if I have. How old am I? I'm 16. I will be 17 next Monday. By what age do you want to have children? Would you ever think of adopting? I would think of adopting, yes. I would like to have had children by the time, at least one child by the time I'm 25. My mother was 38 when she had me, and I just think that's a little bit old. I just noticed it a lot more. I didn't like it, really. She's a fantastic mum. I get on really well with her, but I just would have preferred it if she'd had me a bit younger. But my parents had fertility issues. My mum had endometriosis. Okay, so on my Vanish box, they give instructions for pre-soaking use, and they suggest soaking for just a few hours. What do you do? Do you leave pads in short or longer than that? If I did that, you can actually see over my shoulder, actually, that side, my bucket. That is what I soak my pads in, or used to soak my pads in. I don't bother with soaking now, but if I did, I would fill that bucket up, about 3/4 full. The full scoop of Vanish soak overnight. Throw the water out in the toilet the next morning and put the pads in the washing machine. That was pretty stainless. That's pretty lazy, trust me, but I'm even lazy. I just put in that wet bag that's in there at the moment and throw the wet bag in the washing machine. Put them on a cold rinse, then put them on a hot rinse and add in some Vanish OxiClean and then spin them to dry them out. So yeah, I would leave them overnight. What do you think of people who use bullying people who use tampons or disposable pads? I think that is acceptable. I always said it is your choice. The point about cloth pads and menstrual cups is that you have a choice. You can choose between which one works for you better and which one works for you personally. So I really recommend that you don't push it for someone else. If it works for you, that's great, but it might not work for everyone. And I can see this is getting really blurry. I'm sorry about that. That might be my connection. How do you manage dancing with your illness? I don't actually dance with my own age group at the moment. I would love to, and I will explain something in a second as well. There is hope yet. But at the moment what I do is I dance on a Saturday morning with the babies. I just help my teacher out with leading them around the room and doing their exercises and stuff. So I've kind of kept myself warm, but it's literally I am a professional skipper and galloper now, I've decided, because the number of times I've been skipping and galloping around the room has bordered on ridiculous. I must have that down to a perfect art. Yes. So that's what I'm doing, and because I help them out, I'm also part of helping them out on stage because they know me. That's what I'm doing in the dance show. But as well as that, my dance teachers also wrote me into helping backstage, so that's why I'm doing a lot of stuff like that. But mainly, I like to dance because stretching really helps my muscles. Chronic fatigue syndrome attacks your muscles as well. That's what ME stands for, myalgic encephalomyelitis. And the myalgic means muscular, so it affects your muscles. So keeping them stretched and warm is a very important part of it. What kind of dancing do I do? I'm a ballet dancer and a modern dancer. I don't do tap anymore, and I don't do jazz, but ballet and modern are my favourite. What would be the best website to buy a menstrual cup from? I think, personally, Feminine Wear is the best place to get a menstrual cup from. She just stocks the biggest range and she ships everywhere. So she is in the UK, but because we don't have the FDA rules that you have in the USA, we can stock more menstrual cups, which is great. Also, I stock a menstrual cup. Obviously, I stock the Ruby cup, but a little advertisement. Sorry, had to do it. What would be the best website? Oh, sorry, I've done that one. What age did you start? Start my period or start using amps even? Well, I started my period when I was 14, and I started using amps when I was 15. Luckily. So, do you like loom bands? I have no idea what loom bands are, to be honest. Rephrase that. I've seen them everywhere. I have no idea what their big attraction is, but they're probably like what I would call Scooby-Doos. That's my generation's thing. I don't really have any loom bands, and I've never really tried them. Do you have any advice for telling work/school that you have endometriosis? How would you suggest that you deal with missing days from social events, work, whatever, any advice? I don't know about endo, but endometriosis would be, I'm guessing it's because of the extreme pain that comes with that. When doing that, I would ask the person, just speak to the one person you think it's most important to tell and explain to them that you have a health condition, which means you're in excruciating pain sometimes, and you will need to miss certain events and stuff. Or say you have excruciating pain linked with your menstrual cycle, and you have to take such strong medication that it makes you, I know that some of the medications can make you pretty out of it. I've had them. So I would explain it that way and be kind of slow and gentle. How did you convince your parent into letting you wear menstrual pads and cups? Did you get your mum into using them? My mum does use them. She uses cloth pads and menstrual cups, and she is constantly complaining because she wants more of my panty liners, and I won't make them for her unless she pays me. Because I'm very popular with my panty liners, so I don't really make them that much. I gave her 3 for her birthday because that's what she asked for. It's easiest for me to make. But yeah, my mum does use them when she can. She doesn't have enough, and she has a menstrual cup. She has the classic, the soft, medium, Maluna mini. There you go. So yeah. And as I've already explained earlier in the video how to convince your parents to that you'd like to use menstrual pads and cups. Show them my videos. I have a ton, trust me, on this. There really is nothing else I can add to it. So you do baby ballet? We do that in my art. Yes, I do. I don't actually do the dance class. I just shuffle them around the room. But yeah. How do you know? And do you know of any way to reduce menstrual blood flow having heavy period sex? Unfortunately not. I do know that a lot of people who switch to cloth pads find that their periods get lighter and shorter. We don't know why, and it doesn't happen to everyone. I would say about 80% of people experience either a shortening and a lightening of their periods, or a reduction of pain, or both. And then about 20% of people who switch to cloth pads experience nothing new about, and neither of those even. But we don't really know why. To be honest, there's no explanation, no research been done into this. It's still a bit new for that. Can rumps hold as much as disposable pads, or can rumps hold more? I think personally they can hold more. They're better at absorbing. I have a pad for my friend. She sent me here, Rainbow's Grace Cloth Pad Shop on Etsy. I think I said that right. Cloth pads have different fabrics in them that are designed specifically for absorption. And we can structure them in any way you want, and we can put as many layers of absorbency as you need in there. And obviously adjust the shape, the size, the length, everything. Even the fabrics can be adjusted to what you want. So I think they can hold more if you pay attention to your flow. If you have a heavy flow, use fabrics that absorb more, and you can just make them bigger and thicker and use the fabrics that work best for you. So yes, I think they can hold more than disposables because you have more choice. And they're more adaptable. What do your parents think about you having a hope chest for your future children? My parents have always been really supportive of me with all of my choices, and they've never actually pushed me to do anything. I remember even being at school, they would never push me to do exams because they realized that was if I wanted to do well, I had to make the conscious decision. They couldn't do that, and I got A's and A stars and stuff. So it worked for me, and plus if they told me, I probably wouldn't have done it. But the hope chest, I've always loved kids. I've loved kids from the very beginning, and actually I've badgered my mum since for as long as I can remember, really, to have another child. But my father had a heart attack when I was 3, so and he's the one who stays at home. My mum's the one who worked, and he's the one who looked after me, and he didn't feel like he could look after another child, so they never had another one, which sucks, yes. But they don't mind me because I pay for everything in the hope chest. And that's the one thing I see a lot of questions about when people say, why do I have so many pads? I must be spoiled. I pay for all my pads, you guys. I earn money from working, and then I pay for all my stuff. What natural period pain relief methods do you use during your period? Magnesium tablets, they are fantastic. Lavender oil in a bath works great. I must buy the base one, though, for that. What else do I use? I've got some raspberry leaf tea, but I've got to make that iced tea, actually, because I hate the taste of it otherwise, without sugar. That really doesn't help. So yeah, what else have I tried? Cutting back on dairy can make a huge difference. Dairy seems to aggravate cramps a lot, so bear that in mind. Best way to get rid of really painful period cramps, honestly, there is no way to properly get rid of them apart from perhaps changing your diet and stuff. So yeah, the only way to stop it is to get some really good medication. I find the best by far is cocodamol. You can usually get at a pharmacist. That's great for kicking your cramps to the... sorry, I can't talk straight today. It's really good pain relief, but it is codeine in it, and I hate that, but that's how it works. Is it true that your period stops when you breastfeed? It can do, yes. A lot of people don't have periods for several months after they give birth if they breastfeed. Doesn't always apply, though. I know people are really annoyed because they get their period very soon after they've given birth and they're exclusively breastfeeding. I think you do have to exclusively breastfeed for it to be like that. Not when I say exclusively breastfeed, after 6 months, only be breastfeeding and not bottle feeding. But I'm sure if you alternated a bit, it would still apply. But you have to be kind of breastfeeding for that to work. Do the twins have a channel? They do. It's called Green Cycle Pads, but they very rarely put videos up. Annoyingly, I'm constantly badgering them to put more up, but they prefer to do the behind-the-scenes stuff. To do the thank you one. What's a hope chest? Oh, a hope chest is basically where I think of something that is really motivating for me to get better in the future. For me, that's kids. I just really want to have a family. So I collect cloth nappies and other little trinkets and stuff, mainly cloth nappies for the future. That's a hope chest. Hello, I just wanted to say you had revelation last 5 year periods. I also have ME and I'm 16, so it's cool to know I'm not the only one. On average, how much do pads cost? If you make them, they're very cheap. You could make a stash, I'd say, for about 10 quid if you put in the time and effort for it. Payment-wise, I say the average price for a regular flow pad that's about 10 inches is probably about £5. No idea how much that is in dollars. I would say $8 or $9. They are expensive, but you've got to remember they last for 10 years. So add it up, how many you need. Some people can survive their period with just 6 pads. I always think you need 10 to 15 to be comfortable, but I do know you can easily do it with 6. So if you only start little, you can do that and build it up slowly. Do you have a favorite cloth nappy brand? Not at the moment because I haven't tried them out other than on my cousins who were all in cloth, but they've just, the youngest has just turned 3, so he's really stopped with cloth nappies now. I like the WAMs, the work at home mum nappies that are all in 2 styles, but I can't really pick a favorite. I have trouble inserting cups/tampons, so I am visiting the gynae this Tuesday. I am 17 and a virgin. Should I be worried? Not really. Some people find it very difficult. I know you probably are using lots of lubricant, I would imagine, for doing that. That's the best tip. I find the 7-Ball by far the easiest, and it got a lot easier afterwards. However, I could insert a tampon pretty much fine. It just got as long as I could insert it in. Sometimes it was difficult to get it positioned in the right place, but I could insert it, yes. So just visit the gyno and see what they say, to be honest. There might be an underlying problem, but if there isn't, then you don't need to worry. It's just a case of practicing. Any ideas on how to introduce amps to a younger sibling? My little sister will be starting soon and she doesn't think she has any options other than disposables, but not too much to bring it up. I always think one of the things I did when I was first explaining periods was I have a young cousin but it wasn't her I had it with. At school, we had a group of the younger year 7s who were very curious. And what we did was we got a group of them together and we asked them, we said to them, look, we know we've heard you talking about periods in like the bathroom and stuff and wondering what it's about because not many of them had got their periods. So we said, right, we're going to be here. We've had our periods for a while, so you can ask us any question you like. And I think that's the best way to do it. It's just to say to them that, you know, you're probably thinking about periods and stuff. So I've got mine. I want to say to you, here, we're going to have a little talk, and you can ask any question you like. If you do it with a group of their friends, say, you could also get a little box and have them have a piece of paper each and write down a question, put it into the box so it's anonymous if they want to do that. That's a good way to introduce it, I think, to younger ones. It makes it kind of fun. Have a period sleepover or something like that. That can be quite good for them. But I think often an older sibling is a very good way to introduce it. My cousin is the person I ask everything about periods and stuff. I have an older cousin who's 9 years older than me, and I have a cousin who's 9 years younger than me. So I balance the two. I got the best of both worlds in that sense. So yeah, I would do that. I would try and make it fun for them, you know. Maybe make it a celebration where if they have a treat, like a snack or something they want, you could perhaps speak to your mum, say you want to do this talk with her. Can you get a movie or something? I don't know. Something fun. Cake, all that. Everything's good with chocolate. My mum thinks reusable products are gross. How can I change her views? Watch my videos, obviously. Yeah, I think the way to do it is explain to her why, either said before, earlier on in the video, in an email or something similar like that. Apart from that, I can't really think of a lot of things other than watching my videos so she can see the benefits and the fact that they're not really that gross. How much do you think you have spent on rump? I really don't want to think about that. Oh gosh, how much have I spent? Well, a lot of my menstrual cups have been sent to me by menstrual cup companies who want me to review them for on my channel, or actually I've asked them. I very, very rarely ask the cloth pad makers for pads to review. I'll only do that if they're a more established brand, like Glad Rags or something. I haven't actually asked them, but I might in the future. I don't, for the simple reason that I am a cloth pad maker and I get asked so many times for free cloth pads. It's just fairer, I find, to say no to everyone. And they're small businesses. I can afford to spend a little bit of money on them. So maybe what I'll do is I'll say, if I buy one pad, would you consider adding an extra one in for me to try out? And sometimes that will work. But I like to support them, and as I'm quite well off financially, at the moment at least, I like to do that. But I don't really buy cloth pads that often anymore, so yeah. How much do you ask for while you're babysitting? I don't really babysit anymore, but I used to ask for £6 an hour, which is, I think, about $9. I'm really not sure what the exchange rate is. I would imagine that sort of price is good. Everyone's different. Some people charge 10. I always thought 6 was good. And it depends how many children I'm looking after as well. If I'm looking after a lot more, after 3, I would charge more than that. But for 1 or 2, I'd charge £6. What is a nappy? Oh, a nappy is a diaper. If you're in America, that's what you call it. You call it a diaper. But a nappy is what us UK people and Australians, I think, as well, call it. I have strong pelvic muscles, and I've had a menstrual cup slip under my pelvic bone, so I couldn't pull it out. Do you have any advice for menstrual cups that got too far out your reach? I would get a longer menstrual cup. Consider getting a menstrual cup like the Natural Mama cup or the Love Your Body cup. They tend to be quite big, but they're longer, and they'll be better for you to grab. You're very unlikely to get that loss if you're a cervix that's very high up. That's why the cup would be hard to grab. I'm really worried of getting my period. I tried your method to see where my cervix is, and I couldn't even reach it. It might be an Asian genetics. I really want to use rump, especially. To be honest, getting a period, I was not worried at all. It's different. It didn't hurt me the first time I got it. It's just something that happens. It's completely natural. You have to remember that all of us women go through it. And, well, pretty much almost every woman, I'd say 99% of the women, or the females on the planet go through it. There are only a small percentage that won't for accidents or for deaths early on. But yeah, so that's my real advice, is don't be scared of it. It'll happen when it happens, and to be honest, it's really easy to deal with after you've had it once or twice. You'll get the hang of it and you'll know. But a good thing to do is get a tracking app on your phone, or some sort of, if you don't have a phone, then a calendar, and track when your period's there and work out when you're going to get it, because that way you can be a lot more prepared. And I actually used to set up a pinger on my phone that let me know when my period was due, so I had some sort of idea. But yeah. You can't always reach your cervix, not everyone can, so you probably would just need a longer menstrual cup if you're going to use a menstrual cup. It might drop low when you get your period, so just wait, I would say. Cloth pads, definitely fine to use. Okay. I think that is all the questions so far, so I will give you 5 more minutes to ask another question, and then I'm going to end this. But thanks so much for showing up, guys. I didn't really think this many of you would show up on not one that was at this short notice. I'm going to have a quick look. What's the best cups for beginners? That there really isn't a best or worst cup for a beginner, say. It's more dependent, sorry, what's going? More dependent on your age and also if you've had a child and also whether you're a virgin or not. If you are younger and a virgin, the virginity doesn't really affect it that much actually because your hymen has usually been shattered by the time you're my age anyway. But for some people it is still intact, so it can be a little more difficult because you're not used to inserting anything down there and your vagina hasn't been stretched a little bit yet. So it might be a little difficult for you. If you're a younger teen or a teenager, I'd say kind of between 9 and 14, probably the best cup you should start with is the small Maluna, even if you have quite a heavy period, just because it's better to get used to it than to scare yourself off with something that's going to hurt. The small classic Maluna. It's also quite a reasonably priced cup. So yeah, and if you're older, then really it just depends on how strong your pelvic floor muscles are. There's lots of factors to take into it. There isn't a best beginner cup. It's different for everyone. Okay, well, there's been a lot of you here. I always feel cups and tampons when I sit down. You probably haven't pushed your cup or your tampon up high enough. Tampons tend to drop down, or your cervix might be quite low and pushing your cup down, in which case you might need to try a shorter cup. If I go to the doctor for period pains, what will they do? Depends how good they are, really. Usually the male doctors are the best ones, actually, I found with period stuff. They just seem to be more happy to do stuff. If women are more like, nah, it's just something you have to deal with. But either try and put you on the pill, which is your decision. Personally, I hate the pill because I don't like putting hormones in my body. My body has adverse reactions to hormones, so I don't like it. Or they will prescribe you some stronger pain medication like naproxen, mefenamic acid, something like that. They might or might not work for you. You just got to experiment. What is the cheapest menstrual cup that's very affordable? The Maluna menstrual cup. The other thing you can do, which some people are happy with, some people aren't, is you could buy desatched cups. These are quite often cups that people have tried out once on their cycle and they've discovered they don't really like. And then you can buy milk and sterilizing tablet and you can sterilize them, by yourself. You can boil them in a cup of water, kill off the bacteria, or you can add the sterilizing tablet to cold water and soak it for an hour. That will kill off 99% of bacteria, and it also kills the really strong bacteria. Some people are a bit funny, obviously, about that. Personally, I'm not bothered, but you can try that. That's often a good way to get a menstrual cup cheaper, but the cheapest menstrual cup new is the Maluna. Oh, and also the Fleur cup, I believe, is quite cheap. So those are two you can consider. Is there anything I could do to hide the awful smell from menstrual blood? If you're using cloth pads, it shouldn't smell. If you have a really strong smell with cloth pads, then you need to go and see a doctor about that. That shouldn't be happening. You've probably got a bacterial infection. But with cloth pads, they shouldn't smell. With disposable pads, unfortunately, that's the way it is because of the chemicals in them. It reacts with the blood, and also there's no the plastic on the back of them means that the airflow can't get through it, so you get really sweaty and stuff. It just doesn't help. Bacteria thrive in that environment, so it smells. My cloth pads always leak, and I use the heaviest absorbency. Use an even heavier one. Go for the best pad company I could probably recommend for you is Environmental. She makes pads with either cotton or fleece on the back, and you can have a full layer of PUL throughout the whole pad and get a really heavy absorbency, so you've got a lot of absorbency in there. They would be the best for you. You probably need PUL throughout the entire length of the pad. Or try Windpro fleece on the back. That tends to be good, and go for a very heavy absorbency. A lot of pad makers, if you specify, will add extra absorbency in if you need it. Okay. What would you say is the best lubricant to use for a menstrual cup, and where can you buy it? I would say the Yes lubricant is the best because it's water-based and it's natural. Don't use an oil-based lubricant. It must be water-based because otherwise it's going to damage the silicone in your cup. So the Yes you can get from feminine wear, I believe. At least you could, so I'm pretty sure you still can. And I also think the KY jelly is the most accessible. That's pretty good for people who need to get some jelly from somewhere close to them. You can get that from most supermarkets, I believe, and that's water-based. Those are the only two I would really recommend. I think Maluna actually make a lubricant specifically for menstrual cup. I'm not sure though. I know one menstrual cup company does do that, in which case they'll be fine. They'll be designed for menstrual cups. Okay, sorry, my eyes are squinting. I have pain in my lower left abdomen. It's not cramping. It's been happening for about a week. It's horrible, and I get into a fetal position. What should I do? My mum doesn't think of anything. Take your hand, press. Which side of your abdomen is it? Does it say left abdomen? Okay, your appendix is on your right. Should be on your right side, so you're okay in terms of that. Could be reversed though. I think my dad's is reversed or something like that. Press very lightly. If it hurts, then you should definitely go and see a doctor. If it feels really firm, go and see a doctor. If it's very soft, doesn't really hurt, then give it another day or two. If it's still hurting, then go and see a doctor. Basically, just go see the doctor. Well, sorry, I should rephrase that. If your mum is being very unsupportive of it, say to her, Mum, this doesn't feel right. I think I should see a doctor. Please, can you make a GP appointment? It's probably the best thing to do. Are incredibly irregular periods a bad sign? 2 years after you first started, my last was early May. The next could start tomorrow or months from now. It doesn't bother me, but it could signal a problem. If your periods are heavy or if they're very painful, then I think it could be a chance you have something called PCOS or endometriosis. You would need to get checked out for that, though. Irregular periods are a sign of that. If, however, they aren't very heavy and they aren't very painful, it's probably nothing to worry about. You've just got an imbalance of your two main hormones, which are progesterone and estrogen. Sorry, your two main period-related hormones. Progesterone and estrogen. When these are out of balance, they give off different symptoms. If you have low progesterone, you will get light brownish spotting before your period starts. If you have high estrogen, you will get kind of dark red or black clots when you're in your period, and often your periods can be quite heavy. Those are two imbalances you can have. The best way to correct them for estrogen is to take something called Dong Quai every day. I had some gelatin capsules and some Dong Quai, which is in liquid, and I used to put a couple of drops in these capsules and swallow it. Don't take it when you're in your period, though, because it can make your period heavier and more crampy, but take it every other day until you get your period. And Vitex you can take every day. It's safe to take while you're through pregnancy as well. And progesterone is also one of the main causes of miscarriage. What happens is when you ovulate, something forms in the hole that's left where the egg was. It's called your opus luteum. And this is what provides the progesterone for the fetus if it implants itself, if you get a fertilized egg and the embryo implants itself. But what happens is if you don't have enough progesterone, the opus luteum can't produce enough to sustain the baby. And the reason that you're often safe after 12 weeks is that at 12 weeks, the placenta takes over the production of progesterone. So Vitex is something you can take, especially when you're in the first stage of pregnancy, but make sure it hasn't got alcohol in it, because obviously you don't want to take any alcohol, but there are natural substances. It's a herb, it's completely natural, it's safe to take, just take a small amount of it. And it's also good for promoting breastfeeding stuff. To be honest, go and look at go and do your research. It's a wonderful substance, and it can balance out your progesterone levels. And it helps a lot of people with that issue, especially when it comes to miscarriage. But yeah, so it has a lot of good things to it. Just get the natural one and make sure you get the right dosage. So that's one of the things with that. So yeah, those are two ways to tell if your hormones are off. So yeah. Is a menstrual cup a lot harder to insert/remove than a tampon? I don't think so. Once you get the knack of it, it's pretty easy. No different for me. My cloth pads don't absorb my flow fast enough. What materials do you recommend? I've tried almost everything, so now I'm stuck using itchy spectacles. Have you tried microfiber on top? Microfiber terry. It feels wet a lot of the time, but it's very fast absorbing. Also, if you have cotton pads, wash them a gazillion times. Cotton isn't really a very good fabric for absorbing. Bamboo velour is usually pretty good, and bamboo terry. A terry topped pad is usually the best. And wash it at least 3 times in a hot wash and soak them before you use them. That will be a very good pre-washing. The more you wash them, the more absorbent they'll become, the faster they'll absorb. How old are you? You are very knowledgeable on this topic, and I've learned a lot. I am 16. I've been studying menstruation since I was 15. Well, I'm almost 17. I'll be 17 in a week. Do you think ramps are for everyone? I think we have to ask the question, if everyone was to use disposables, and if we could only dispose of them in our backyards or in the garden, or if we couldn't throw them anywhere else, if we couldn't pass on our responsibility to someone else, would you use disposables and have them sitting at the end of your garden? Because personally, I wouldn't, but I do think that there are certain situations where it's not the best thing. If someone's elderly and uses a disposable pad for incontinence, say, then they might find it very difficult to do with all the washing and stuff. I can understand that. In that instance, yes, probably a disposable is better, and it doesn't work for everyone. So you can use the biodegradable disposable pads and the more organic ones which don't contain chemicals. More expensive, they're not better for you in terms of saving money, but they are better for the environment and for your health. What would you do if you got bad period cramps at school? I would go to the school office and say I was having bad menstrual cramps and could I please have some paracetamol or some Nurofen. Nurofen is the best, it's ibuprofen. It's by far the best that works for me. To be honest, being honest at school, I found I was always nervous about going to the office about period stuff. And as soon as I got there, I had two women in the office. I would say to her this, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I thought, why the heck was I worried about asking that? I shouldn't be ashamed of this. So you just got to get over it, quite frankly. What do you recommend to use at school, pads or cups? I used a cup at school because I could put my periods are quite light, so I could put a menstrual cup in before I went to school and take it out after I got home from school. I didn't have to worry about it while I was at school. But so yeah, I prefer cups, but some people prefer pads. You can use either. Up to you. How to ask your mum to shave down there? I used to do this, and then it got so annoying because I kept getting ingrown hairs, and it was itchy as hell. It just was so uncomfortable. What I do is I literally take a pair of scissors and I just trim the hair when it gets long, and I find that's fine. Personally, I don't need to have it shaved or anything. Even if you're swimming, to be honest, you don't need to shave down there. If you want to, that's fine. But I did that for a couple of months and then just gave up on it. I didn't see the point, to be honest. If someone doesn't, like, if you have a boyfriend, for example, who doesn't respect that about you, you should say, this is my body, and if he doesn't shave his, then you should say, if you want me to shave mine, you should shave yours. Personally, that's my opinion, but everyone's different. So yeah, just be honest and say, well, to be perfectly honest, I would just buy my own razor and do it myself. I recently started using a ruby cup, but I've had trouble trying to get the cup open when it's inside. Any tips? Use the 7-fold, push it right up as far as you can, then pull on the stem to pull it down again, then push it back up a bit, and give it a little push from side to side. That often opens it up. When you're getting your braces off, they come off in September. That's when I get my retainer, so not much longer now. I really wish it had been a bit sooner so I could have had them off the dance show, but that's the way it works. Can you kiss on a first date? I guess. Personal choice, really. This is just what feels right, I guess. I've only had one boyfriend, but he was my boyfriend for 3 years. And the most we did was kiss. We didn't need to have sex or anything. And I was a lot younger. I was 11 to 14. That's how long I had him. And yeah, so I guess you could. We waited quite a while, I think, but obviously we were younger. So, yeah. My dad's making me an appointment tomorrow. Oh, good. You're the one who had the period, the abdominal pain. That's very good. Just get it checked out, to be honest. Most of USA schools are drug-free, so I don't know if we can get meds, so you just have to ask to rest. Secretly take meds to school or ask to go home. I always kept a packet of Nurofen in my school bag, just zipped up in the pocket, because I felt that if I needed it, I was probably better to have it, and it was my responsibility. We weren't allowed to take meds at school, but they often have a medical cabinet. So I don't know if you have that. Perhaps you should go and ask, to be honest. If it's really, really bad, though, you might need to go home. I know from the fact that I can black out and start vomiting that that's really bad. You might need to go home and get medication or get your mum to bring it in. What cup fold do you currently use? I always use the 7-fold. I find it the easiest to get in, to get open, all that malarkey. So yeah. What else? What do you think disposable pads are? Do you think disposable pads are ruining the environment? I don't think. I know this as a fact. They take around 450 years to break down disposable pads. It's the same with disposable nappies as well, or diapers, depending on where you are. So yeah, they take a long time to break down, and we just don't have the space for that. They contaminate the soil around them, so we can't grow produce and stuff. So yeah, I think they are bad for the environment. And remember the chemicals they put on that stuff. Can't be good. What pad materials don't leave you feeling wet and sticky, and don't leak and feel hot and red up your bum? The riding up your bum bit isn't the actual material, that is the shape of the pad. Don't leak. I think you probably need Zorb with bamboo terry underneath it and also on top of it, and then another fabric on top of that. Zorb is great, it absorbs a lot of water, but it's a compression fabric. When you push on it, it will leak. So you need two fabrics like bamboo that don't leak, or hemp. Hemp's another good fabric to use for compression leaks. So yeah, I would just get more absorbency added to a pad, and as I said before, environmental was probably the best. I find cotton actually feels the driest for me, but my periods aren't heavy. Sherpa is often recommended for people who have heavy gushy flow. It absorbs quickly and doesn't feel damp. So you could try those. Oh, also suede cloth is a wicking fabric, and so is Procool. They're really good fabrics as well. How do you hide getting a pad from your locker to the bathroom? Take your bag with you and have your pad in there, or put your pad in a pocket or something like that. You can use a pad wrapper and put a clean pad in the pad wrapper, then take the clean pad out and put the dirty pad in. You can do that with a pad wrapper. Or put it in your coat pocket. That's often pretty good. Personally, I just hold it like this and walk into the bathroom. I do not care at all. I had no qualms at school about saying to the teacher I need to go to the bathroom. If they said no, I would tell them I was on my period and they would always let you go. Brilliant. But then everyone else in the class did it, and we always used it to get out swimming. What fold is best for beginners? Experiment. There isn't really a best fold, just got what you find is good. I'm not very close to my mum. How do I also go to the doctor by myself with period problems? I would say, if you're not very close to your mum, I would simply just say, even my dad I'm not particularly close with, but I would say to him, Papa, I call him Papa, I said, Papa, I've got having issues with my period, I need to go see a doctor, please can you make an appointment? That's what I would say. And then you can go to the doctor and speak to them yourself, usually. How can I talk to your family about using reusable diapers? I would use the analogy, I think analogy is the right word, gosh. Not very good at English. But use the example of saying to them, with disposable nappies, you've got to bear in mind that what you do when you throw them away is you pass on the responsibility of them to someone else, and say to them, if they had to keep those disposable nappies in their garden, and they couldn't give them to anyone else, they had to leave them in their own garden to dispose of them, would they still use disposable nappies, or would they consider using reusable nappies, which are better for the environment, don't take 450 years to break down, they save you money, they're better for the child's health? Then ask them that. But to be honest, I don't think you can really enforce it on someone who isn't at all interested. That's just our society today, unfortunately. How do you keep a cloth pad from shifting? Try a fleece-backed cloth pad and very tight fitting and a good pair of fitting underwear. Very important for cloth pad shifting. What inspired you to start a reusable pad business? I just found cloth pads really, really comfortable. I've been able to sew since I was 6 years old. It's one of those traditional things in my family that all the girls have to be able to sew and cook. So yeah, I learned to sew. Having said that though, my grandmother and my grandmother can't sew at all. But she can cook. So yeah, they basically taught me that, and also because I did ballet, one of the things when you're dancing is if your elastics break, we were always taught that we had to mend them. So if it happened on the side of the stage, we could mend them and we weren't stuck. And that's a very good thing to do, actually. Always teach your child to mend their own ballet shoes. Because when you get to point shoes, you have to sew them yourself as well. How could you hide your products at school, as in getting a product out of your locker into the bathroom? Like I said before, take a bag or stick it in a pocket. Usually put them in a bag or disguise them in a pencil case, so it looks like you're carrying a pencil case and not a pad. How long does it take to make a pad? Oh gosh, I can make, on a good day, I could make 9 in 1 hour with the materials pre-cut out. My mum was cutting out for me, and I employed someone to do that as well. But if I had to cut everything out, it would probably take me 2 hours to do about 6. So yeah, it takes forever, which is I think a lot of people underestimate how long it takes to do a cloth pad, because you have to cut the materials out, pin the cord to the top layer, stitch the top layer, pin the top layer to the back layer, sew around it, trim the edges, flip it the right side out, and then sew it up again, and then add the snaps on. It's not a quick process, trust me, and that it's quite tiring as well. When you got your first period, did you use rumps or disposable? I didn't know about cloth pads or menstrual cups when I got my first period. If I had, I would have used them, but I used disposables. The minute I found out about reusables, I wanted to use them. I just loved the idea. So yeah, how do I hide my period from my mum? Don't. Quite frankly, don't. Because the reason I would say this is that issues can happen. You know, things can go wrong with your period. You might get very heavy one day. You might get very painful. Something might start smelling really bad. It might change color. It might do a lot of funny things. Something that doesn't feel quite right to you, and you will want to ask. And I asked my mum about all that sort of stuff. We had the whole saying in our household that anything to do with periods or sex is completely fine to ask. You know, there's nothing that is too embarrassing, because we're going to find out about it anyway. So I knew about sex and periods probably from the age of 3, to be honest. It was never a big talk for me, and we had it at school, I mean, the details and stuff, but we knew about it for a long time. So, yeah, I would just basically speak to your mum about it and mention you have, even if you don't have an in-detail conversation with her, just say to them, hey mum, I've started my period, just thought you should know. I think it's best that someone knows you have your period, or if you're really close to a cousin or a sister, let them know so you can ask them any questions you need. What's the best thing about making your own pads? I like making my own pads just because it's cheaper. I think the best things about making your own pads is that it's cheaper. You can get the materials. It's quite fun, actually, making this a pad and realizing this is going to be used for something. I'm going to use this for my period and to take care of that time of the month. It actually is quite fun. So yeah, I think it's always a good thing. I always think it's good for someone to attempt to make their own pad, even if it's not pretty. It's like, I made this thing, and it's going to get me through my cycle. What is the best pattern to hold a pad in place? Whereabouts it's shifting, if it's going up your bum too much, you might need a more flared pattern. You might also need one that goes a bit further back, more rounded, more squared. It depends. It differs for every single person. I personally find less flares and more square-shaped pads work best for me, hence why my pads are like that. But yeah, it's different for everyone. You've just got to figure out different shapes and stuff. Did you tell your friends about rumps? Were they discussed it, or did they use them too? I have 2 good friends. I have from my school. Well, obviously just in Lorraine are 2 of my good friends, and they both make and use reusable pads as cups. I have 2 friends. One of them hates the idea of amps. She does not like the thought of reusing anything like that. The other one actually uses cloth pads. I gave her a couple, and I think she and her mum shared them. And her mum actually washes her pads for her. I'm really jealous because, well, I'm not jealous actually. I don't mind washing my own pads. My mum sometimes tries to slip her pads into my wash, which I think is ridiculous because she doesn't have to do mine, so I don't have to do hers, as far as I see it. So yeah, I told them about it. They're fine. The good thing with my friends is that we have a lot of respect for each other, and we know that everyone's decision is different, so it's important to take that into account. For using disposable products, do you think it's okay to put them in your bathroom or put them in your room? Put them wherever you want them, quite frankly, up to you. How do you talk to your friends about rumps? I'm too embarrassed. I usually start with, I don't really know, to be honest. I only explain it to my closest friends, and usually the word spreads that way. But yeah. So I think it's almost an hour I've been on here, guys, so I'm going to call it quits now, and thank you so much for coming on here. I hope this kind of made up for the fact that I won't be having any videos. I don't think this week going up after today, it was just too crazy. So yeah, I will leave this live stream up on my channel. It's very long, so I doubt people will watch the whole thing. But thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.